promised you, you're still watching the Sisters Empowerment Show, different aspects of life. We speak about different topics, and today with me is Lillian as usual. And Lillian, we are going to speak about
how to train our children into responsible citizens.
And when we talk about that topic, what we mean is we are going to talk about how to effectively do parenting. As parents, what is expected of you? But before we proceed, we want to inform you that this program is proudly sponsored by Have and Save Enterprises, located at Ham Shopping Grounds, and this deals with children's clothes and other accessories. So in case you need anything to do with children, don't hesitate to contact them. Our other sponsor is St. Daniela Education Services. This is a nursery and boarding primary school located at Namayumba. And if you have your child and feel that you want them to get both formal and informal to St. Daniela Education Services. So Lillian, I think you're going to kickstart this show by telling us what are some of those tips that we have to tell our viewers on how well to parent their children.
Our viewers today, yes, the topic today is in regard to training our children. Of course, with children, we usually begin from age 1. What basically we are going to age 1 up to 18 years and above. So then we are looking at having use of magic words, the positive things that we are supposed to tell our children while we are with them, right from school, at home, the people they stay with. We really need to ensure that they are told and listen to the positive words, especially the magic words like please if they want to ask for something, I'm sorry if they've done something wrong to someone. For instance, if a child has beaten up the other or accidentally done something wrong, broken a plate, a cup, they should be able to tell the parent that they are sorry they have done this and this. And of course, as a parent, you're expected to listen and advise accordingly. Of course, you have to find out how did this happen, you know. Then you take the necessary precaution, not just to beat, you know. At times it is by accident, depending on how this was done.
They should also learn to say thank you, yeah? You know, sometimes in life, people never say thank you. Thank you is a magic word, and it's very difficult for children to say it. So once you do something, and your child does not thank you, it means even when they grow up and go maybe to stay with other people, and they extend a service to them or something good, they cannot say thank you. So we have to teach our children to say thank you. They must also be in position to welcome people. For example, if you're at home, they must give people who come at home a welcome atmosphere by showing them that they are happy for them coming to their home. Otherwise, it is very saddening if you go to a home like Lillian, if I came to your home and your children just looked at me and do not even show me that I'm welcome to your home. The perception I'll get is either you don't like me or you speak something bad about me, so I'm not welcome to your home.
Yes, and also of course with that it gives someone a warm welcome, and definitely the children will have the opportunity to lead you in, maybe to lead you in where you're supposed to sit, where you're supposed to pass through, maybe to lead you until when you get to the sitting room and whatever. Then it becomes easier for them now to interact with you by greeting, maybe informing you of what is happening. If a visitor wants to see mommy or daddy, then of course there is a starting point where they can be able to tell you, okay, mommy is not around, however there is maybe auntie, there is this and this. Definitely you have where to start from.
And to add on to that, Lillian, do you notice that there are some people who are adults but do not greet?
Definitely.
And you know where it comes from? It's because of their upbringing. They grew up not greeting. Like someone wakes up in the morning, you stay with another person in the house, and you don't even care to greet them. So I mean, if you don't train your children at a young age to start greeting, even when they grow up, they will not greet their bosses, they will not greet their spouses, and that is bad.
There is need also to explain to the children why certain things are the way they are. Of course, when you look at children that are right from year 1, 2 years, they are so inquisitive and they need to know why certain things are that way. For instance, they may explain to them where necessary. Otherwise, if you do not, then they will get a wrong explanation and maybe be misled, especially when the children have now grown up and they are teenagers. They are inquisitive in one way or another. So if they ask for something, and of course for them they may not know, at times it is something that maybe they have heard from their peers or through watching television. But then if you do not really give them the right response, then definitely they'll still have a question within their mind and they'll need an answer. So if you do not really give this child the responsible answer, or you explain to them why it is so and so, maybe why is John coming always at home to meet my sister called Mary, and really you do not respond to that, definitely they may get it wrong. But instead you have to give a response that is according to their age, what they really need to understand, and the benefits basically.
And also, I think another good example in that area is, for example, children go to school, yeah? They wake up every morning under very hard conditions. Sometimes it has rained, other times they just don't feel like going to school. So you have to explain to them why they are going to school. So they don't look at it like you're punishing them, or they're just going for no reason. They don't even have reason to go to school, yeah? So parents out there, we need to really take on these points and tell our try to train our children in the right direction. And also I think, Lillian, the other thing that we need to tell parents out there, and this does not only apply to parents but guardians or any other people who are in charge of children, the upbringing of children, even teachers for this matter, because most of the time our children are with teachers. So the tips we are trying to give you also apply to you because you are taking care of our children. I think there is need to emphasize respect for all kinds of people that your children come in contact with, be it old people, all young people, their age mates, even people younger than them, like their fellow young children. So we need to inculcate the aspect of respect for people. And when we talk about respect, of course it's a wide thing. I'm not going to break it down, but when I talk about respect, there are these small little things that can actually show that a child is respectful. For example, you have to be polite while you're talking, for example, to your elder. Don't just answer them rudely. Even your fellow young child, or if it is your sibling, you don't have to really be rude to them, even if you're a little older than them. So respect is very important. Otherwise, if you don't teach your children to respect, they will not respect you as well. And resultantly, they will shame you and embarrass you one day. Yeah.
Of course, when we talk about respect, we can add something in regards to, of course, how, if it's greeting, how do you want them to show respect in that aspect? Like, of course, we have our different cultures. In Buganda culture, for instance, here, the respect is indicated by way of kneeling down while greeting your elders, your parents, or anyone who comes at home. But also in respect, we mean whereby if a parent talks to a child, how is this child supposed to respond? Is the child talking at the same time when the mother or father is saying something? So then here we need to emphasize the aspect of listen and listen as you're being told, so that you do not have to talk and at the same time while you're being advised to do something. So it's important that you first get the message, then maybe you react. But also it also gets to the fellow peers. Because even when a child is young and maybe in a family there are siblings and children of different age groups, of course you need to respect each other. How? Whereby, of course, with the siblings, they may have some things that maybe they may want to tell out and you just ignore. Assuming maybe a child has just fallen and is coming crying So then you just push away, instead and shout at them. Instead of giving them attention, however little this kid is, they need to be attended to. But also you listen and see exactly what is it that is the problem, because they also need assistance. So of course with those kinds of things, in future still they help both the children to survive in different environments, even at school when they're in class listening to the teacher. Basically they'll be, because of that respect that they have and the emphasis being given at home to listen as the elders are speaking, definitely you'll find the child being able to listen during class time and listen to the teacher attentively. Even when it's time for revision, they'll be able to do their work in time without distracting anyone. So with that, it minimizes a lot of distraction and orderliness among the children, right from home and maybe school, and even when they go out to visit. Do you know that there are children that once they go to visit somewhere, the response is given that please never bring back this child back in our home, Yeah. At times when I say, Daisy, I want to visit you, you're like, you will have to them, are you coming with so and so? What does that imply? Maybe you're tired, or you just do not want the character of the child that you have given, the way maybe they were behaving, while maybe during the time they paid a visit to you, just simply because there are certain characteristics that maybe they portrayed. So of course with this, of course it also goes beyond, even when we go to work, you're in a work environment, your boss says this, or sorry, your supervisor calls you to give you an assignment. Even before the assignment is finalized, before you get the clear instructions, you're already interfering with the instructions. So basically you cannot be able to get the assignment right, and definitely you will fail at the onset.
So I think with what you're saying, and picking it up from where you've stopped, I think it all shows or comes to a conclusion that parents must be role models. We talked about respect, and when we say that parents should be role models, what does it mean? For you to earn respect, you must respect. If you want your children to respect you, you must also respect them. So our viewers out there, parents, in order for your children to be respectful to other people, you must start to respect your children as well. Despite the fact that they are young and maybe you think they don't know many things, we need to respect each other in order for us to live harmoniously and to carry on our families well.
Please do not forget that you are watching the Sisters Empowerment Show. Remember to subscribe, like, share, comment, and contact us in case of anything. Our numbers are running on the screen. In addition to back to our discussion, when we look at taking care of the children, of course, there are a number of aspects that we have in our families. We grow up being told to do certain things. Of course, in some families where they are lucky to have both boys and girls, there are certain kinds of activities that are done in those families. For instance, you may find that maybe in a certain home, it's only boys that wash the plates after the girls have cooked and prepared the food and cleaning and all that. It is important that our viewers out there really encourage these children to learn and engage in house chores. For instance, and of course with this, they need to be guided. How? As a family head, it can, through the parent, the father, the mother, the aunties, the elders basically at home. There is need to come up with a plan on who does what, at what period of time is A, B, C, D supposed to be done, and when does really work stop. You know, there are families whereby work begins since from the time they wake up until when they sleep. Everyone is working, but what is it that they are really doing? When you reach home, you find that everyone is busy, but in actual sense, there is nothing that has been done. Everything is disorganized, even the plates are not. And when you just see, everyone seems to be busy, but then how do we help our children out there to be organized? Because of course, like, the advantage is that in schools there is a timetable, there is a plan on what activities are done at a particular time.
Lillian, I think to add on to your point, yeah, we have to teach our children to learn to balance both the formal and the informal education. You talked about children doing and being involved in household chores, yeah? Like cleaning, cooking, fetching water and everything. You see, traditionally, that is the role that children were made for. Like, you were supposed to learn these things. And a lot of emphasis was placed on the informal work at home. But now, parents out there, I think it's the right time for us now to balance also the formal education. And there are those parents who think that children are supposed to just do the formal education and only in disregard of the informal. So I think from what you have said, there is need to balance both the formal and informal work for the children. They need to actually balance and know, when I go home, for example, it's time to do housework, but I must also read. Even when they go to school, we must train our children that besides reading books, they have to learn this informal work.
Yes, the aspect of time is very important. As parents, I encourage us to borrow some of these tips that are in school so that we bring them right in our homes. For instance, like waking up time. What time are children supposed to wake up? Even as parents, you find that if you have to go to work, as a parent, you're still lazy to go to work, even when you're supposed to report at 8. You leave home at 9 o'clock. But then, and of course, by the time you leave and you're the earliest person, by the time you leave, children are still in bed. And even then, you do not take care of who is going to do what, how is work going to be done, what is at home that the children will eat, how will they dress up, and all those things. We tend to ignore some of those things and we leave them especially to our helpers. But I urge all parents to sit as a family and draw a plan of who does what. Basically, you tag the activities according to time. And especially where in families where there are young children, right from 0 to 1 year, actually up to like 2 years, those that are not going to school, they also need to be part of the programs, you know, who does what for them and at what period of time. Because for those that are already maybe going to school, have an idea of what to expect and what to do during the day, but still they need to be guided. Of course, as the children do housework, they are engaged in a number of things. We still also need to realize that they need to be encouraged and praised. You thank them for the work that they have done. You reward them, those that have done good throughout the day. And also to evaluate what has been done throughout the day. Of course, for those that are working, when you return home, it's important that you sit with the children to find out who did what, who washed the plates, who washed the clothes, who laid the bed, who didn't do this. Then you encourage and find out why this did not happen. Why is it that so and so is more active than the other? The ones that are lagging behind, then you try to help them out.
And I think in doing that, you're trying to build the self-esteem of these children. It is very important, parents out there, to ensure that you're building the esteem of your children. It is a very bad practice for children to always pity themselves and be scared of themselves, maybe speaking. They don't actually know how to go about things. But what you've been telling them, like praising them, rewarding them, is very encouraging and motivational. And also, besides all this, you have to punish them. When they do wrong, don't hesitate to punish them. But I must warn you that punishments must be small and, suitable. You don't have to over-punish a child. Like you say, for example, you didn't wash clothes, You're not going to eat food. You know, I mean, sometimes you go to the extent of abusing their rights, I mean, violating their rights. So in punishing these children, you have to just punish them for them to learn that if you don't do something, it will attract a punishment. It must be small. For example, if the child is small, it is maybe, if the child is 5 years, and you start like telling them, you're going to spend the whole night out of the house because they just did not do something, and that is the way you punish your children. That is really wrong, and resultantly these children will escape away from your homes and go away, or they will become very naughty. And it is very bad for you to get to the extent where your children become repugnant, like they are used to the punishments. Whether you punish them or not, they don't care. They're like, after all, I'm used, mommy will beat me or daddy will just chase me out of the house and I go to uncle's house. So make sure that in punishing them, you're trying to just correct them and show them that when you do something wrong, it attracts a punishment. But the punishment should be reasonable in the circumstances. And in rewarding these children, it is always very good like to reward them in comparison with what they have done, but also trying to attract the others to try and emulate the example. Otherwise, it would be, I know some parents are really rich or they have the money. You might find someone telling their child that I'm going to buy you a car if you pass your P7 exam. Yes, that is a very good promise and reward, but sometimes the rewards should also be reasonable, you know, to encourage you and also not to stress you. Yeah.
And of course, with that, you're setting up a pace. Assuming you have five children, and the first one you're right, maybe from pre-primary, you're giving them maybe, for instance, a trip. You go to maybe Nairobi, you know, when they finish their pre-primary to join P1. And then by the time maybe the one who has completed pre-primary and now is in P7, definitely they will not need the trip again because they've experienced that. So are you going to move to buying a Mercedes-Benz? And then what happens when they complete university, you know? Are you going to upgrade to an aeroplane? And remember, you have other children. So, and things really change. So what Daisy is saying is important, that we should reward reasonably, so that really also other children, and realistic things that even we have control of. It can be as simple as a switch. You do not have to use material, you do not have to use money. A simple dress, it can be a shoe, it can be maybe a movie to watch, you know. Even at home, you can just download a simple skit, and because you did this and this, you first come and watch, then you will tell others what you have seen. Not necessarily those big kinds of maybe gifts and rewards that we promise our children, because you're setting some standard that is not high. Yeah, you're setting a very high bar.
Lillian, I think also it is important at this point to point out that disciplining children is very important. How do we discipline our children? When we talk about disciplining of children, we do not talk about like caning them, subjecting them to these heavy sentences that are punishments that I've talked about. Now, we need to discipline our children in different ways. For example, the point I actually wanted to bring out clearly is sometimes the language we use in disciplining our children is really very bad. For example, you might find a child, you know, there are these very stubborn children, and then maybe the parent is giving them negative critiques with very strong words. For example, you stupid child, that is why you will live and die. You know, that kind of language, you know. It is very bad for us to use very negative language towards our children in disciplining them. So when we talk about disciplining, there are several ways you can discipline your children. For example, if they want to watch TV, they like this TV series so much, you might discipline them by, for example, forbidding them from watching TV. That will affect them psychologically, but it might not affect them physically. However, it might push them. That is a way of disciplining. There are also several other ways I think that parents out there use. I don't know.
Of course, in discipline, the child, they need to understand the reasons as to why you're doing so that they are able to understand it and be able to understand that a mistake has been done, but then I need to correct it in this way. For instance, if a child maybe breaks a cup, and you're like, your cup actually, you know, in some families there are those special cups that a father uses or a mother, and you're so attached to this cup, and maybe a child, you some evening or morning, the cup is nowhere, and it's now a new cup that you didn't expect. So then you even do not know whether it got broken, but then in reaction, how do you react? If you find out that so and so is the one that broke your cup, you just beat the child. Do you find out then, even then, when you find out it's this person, how do you guide, how do you help this person to be able to inform you that maybe mommy, as I was washing, I accidentally, maybe the cup fell from my hand and it got broken. Of course, they will tell all kinds of stories, but then you as a parent, how do you handle this? Do you just beat the child? So then you have to encourage, of course you encourage them to report what has happened, and at the same time also explain their action, but then later you inform them that next time they have to be careful when they are washing maybe cups or doing such certain things, but not just to beat, you know. So the children need to understand why certain things are done, and in case of any mistakes, how to go about it.
And also, in addition to what you've just been saying, I think it goes to speak to communication in a home. How do you communicate to your children? How do the children communicate back to their parents? You know, communication is different. Sometimes it can be through talking, other times it can be facial expression, but most times we use, of course these days there is the telephone, the e-communication and all those kinds of communication. Now here I think we are trying, in emphasizing communication, I think we are trying to talk about the physical communication in a home. This communication of course starts with the parents, yeah? The parents, mom and dad, how do you communicate among each other? Then how do the parents communicate to the children? How do the parents communicate to the people, the other people in the house, like the house helpers, like if you have nieces? The way you communicate to them speaks a lot about how your children will communicate to those very people and to yourselves. You know, sometimes you find children just like shouting at their parents or being rude and answering in a very rude manner. And this is like the way they grew up, that is how they communicate. But also sometimes you have to set your rules in your house, as you said, for example. You know how are things being done. And then in setting these rules, you have to communicate them to the children and know if you do this, this is the repercussion. But also in setting our rules and communicating to our children, it is important to seek their opinion. Do you know that traditionally children were not given opportunity to express their views? It was like you should never answer an adult person. Whatever they say is right. I think things have now changed. And in order for us to learn our children so well and understand why is my child this, why is my child stubborn, why is she performing badly, there is need for you to actually find out from them, seek their opinion. Even when you're setting their rules, for example, you're saying, on Mondays we shall be eating rice, on Tuesdays we shall be doing this, Lillian, you will be cleaning the house, Jacob, you will be mopping maybe the kitchen. You need to seek their views and opinions to know what they have or what opinions they hold in that. And I think if you do that very well, things will move on so smoothly. And even when they go out there, they will not be the kind of dictators we see sometimes in, for example, offices or workplaces. You find that some people are used to dictating to others. They don't seek people's opinions, but it goes back to their upbringing.
Of course, with that, it is the way we bring out ideas and engage the children. We as the parents, we may be able to discuss and say we want this and this. However, at a certain point in time, we need to engage the children. We sit them at a round table, whatever, is it a dining, is it outside in the compound? We see who does this better. Is it who usually maybe cleans the house, who mops, who likes to cook what, who does it better, who does, Of course, when you engage, then and also in engaging, we are supposed to observe the reality of things, even when the children tell you it is Mary who does the cleaning very well, but have you been able to witness that it is true, that it is Mary who does this and this? If it is maybe Sarah who doesn't want to engage in cooking, then have you been able to see and witness that Sarah has a weakness in this area? So that maybe with that it can help you to either rotate the kind of activities that each one does, so that everyone is given an opportunity to learn a given maybe work schedule or anything that is in place to be done. So then, of course, like you mentioned about having the budget to determine what maybe children are supposed to eat. If it's rice, if it's posho, are they the ones that really also determine what they want to eat? Or we as parents, I think we should encourage children to be able to have no choice, Me, I don't like matoke. Why? Especially if you're in the Buganda culture, even when you're a child, at least let everyone have an opportunity to learn to eat something, unless if it is something that really affects maybe someone in terms of if it causes medical, health issues. If it's something that really has a health issue, maybe someone may be eliminated from maybe such a menu of such particular sorts of foods. But because our culture, we have a tendency to, anything can happen anytime. Today you may be at mommy's home, the other time mommy's no more, and you have to stay with auntie, you have to stay with grandmother. Then there is no way you can start to say, I don't like this food, I don't like this, I can't take this kind of tea, I'm used to this. So basically, of course, we also have to be a little fair, and we give our children a variety of options in terms of what is available. And of course, in terms of keeping our children busy at home, especially the young ones, it is important that we invest in buying some toys. Like for the boys, they really they are adventurous in nature. They like to play, practice the driving, the riding, watch football, playing, and for the girls, it is actually that the girls are more into maybe cooking, taking care of the little ones. You buy them like dolls, all those things. So you need to also help these children and provide them with the necessary toys so that they are also kept busy. Do you know that a family where children do not have much maybe games to play with, they are more destructive? Yes. Because they do not have where to put that energy and creativity. Then instead of the boys maybe going in the compound to play maybe football, they will instead be climbing the windows, the walls, and being destructive. So basically in that area, I think parents, we need to take good care of that.
Remember, you're watching the Sisters Empowerment Show. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. And don't forget that we are proudly sponsored by Have and Save Enterprises Limited, located at Ham Shopping Ground, Level 2, shop number D41. And that shop deals in children's items, all children's items from newborn to about 14 years. Everything that you need about children is in that shop. And our other proud sponsor is St. Daniela Education Services. This is a nursery and boarding primary school located in Namayumba in Wakiso district. And they are responsible for your children's education, both formal and informal education. So parents out there, you're welcome to bring your children, and what we are speaking about here will be imparted on your child. Lillian, you've just been talking about these energies that children have. I think it is important for parents to also teach these children to be innovative. When we talk about innovation, of course, in this day and era, it's not about reading books only, yeah? There are different ways of making your children become innovative. And I think after this COVID period, the parents' minds are now open to the fact that we need to think outside the box. If children were only glued on their books now, this is the time for you to try and be innovative and also try to teach your children new things. Introduce them to new ideas like baking, farming, try to look out for their talents that they may have. You might find that children have talents in sports, in singing, and several other talents. So innovation is very important at this point and in this day and era, because as we may look at where we are going now, it's not about the books that we have. How innovative are you, for example, even if you're employed? What innovation are you bringing to this company, to this institution that your child is going to? I think it is time for us now to try and encourage parents to try and be very innovative and introduce their children to this and encourage them to be innovative. If your child comes up with an idea, don't just dustbin it and throw it away and say, no, that's not the way we do things. Try to listen to them, yeah? Try to have time actually with your children. Lillian, for you to know how innovative your children are, sometimes do you know that parents have to spend some quality time with their children? As a working mother, I'm going to give you my experience. It is very unbecoming for parents to think that the only thing that children need is money. That my role is to go out there and look for money and provide everything for my child. You buy for them the TVs, you buy for them the tablets, you buy for them everything they need in life, but you're never there to show them this love, to share quality time with them, to learn who they are, what they want, what interests them, what annoys them, you know, what talents they have. So parents out there, we have to make time for our children. However busy you are, please try to make some time for your children, because you will be surprised. You will actually be disappointed if you discover some unbecoming habits in your child. And you've been staying with this child for this many years, but you've never discovered that your child has some abnormality or has something that is really unique, that is known by outsiders, and you as a parent, you have never discovered your child. Yeah, I'll give you an example. Yeah, daughter is.
And at times parents tend to also ignore certain things, even when someone brings it out that so and so has this character. They tend to ignore and do not give it time to study and really find out whether what is being said is right. But also, like you mentioned, simple things like table manners, you know. You leave home very early, you come in very late. Weekends, you're never at home, so you never know whether even your children eat. How do they even sit maybe at the dining? Do they eat while the food is just leaving the place anyhow? You know, you don't know how to use the utensils, you know, and the cutlery. So at times you find that you may be invited at a party with the children, but there are certain characteristics that are expected of them that even your children cannot really portray, even the minimal basics. Even when it is time to come down and maybe to learn, you know, at times if you go in a new environment, there is a tendency for those that are not so maybe hyper the first time, they are able to first of all study the situation and maybe pick it up from there slowly by slowly, and also maybe be able to watch and see how things are done, then later also learn and do what is expected of them. So it is important that parents really take time to understand their children and accept them the way they are, but also guide them in order to improve the way things are done right from the home. Of course, they say charity begins at home. If you do not learn certain characteristics while at home, definitely you even there is much more that a child will have to learn and pick on. So you find that a child will get from bad to worse, and there will be a time whereby you will not be able to control such characteristics. But most of all, it is important that children are taught how to understand the religion in which they are brought up with, of course, in. Of course, there are families that are maybe Christian, Muslims, whatever religious background it is important that children are taught right from the time they are young up to, because with religion, this is something that one has to rely on even when they do not have people around them.
And religion, I think, also helps mold us into very good people in society.
Definitely. So with religion, it is important that really children are given time to understand and also to engage. If it's time to go for prayers, let parents be examples, you know, and not to pray as one partner who, you know, and the children do not know, and you find maybe the helper is even more prayerful than anyone in the family, in the house. So then, where possible, let us maybe be one, and maybe if it's possible, we go to the same place of worship. If there are those that are maybe of different, at least let everyone be somewhere in terms of religion, because if you know where, then what happens at the end of the day, these children need to be guided, so that right from the time they are young until, because with religion it is also another way that shapes their way of life, like you mentioned, in society. So it is important that children are really taught to understand religion, and of course you explain to them why this and this. Of course, they have a number of questions. You need to also help them and guide them, take them through the various religious aspects of life, so that, because with this, then their life will be made a little simpler and they have something to refer to. You know that if a child maybe is more destructive, is always the one who beats the others, you can refer to the 10 Commandments and say, God says don't do this, this and this. And of course, if they have those kinds of things, then they can always refer, say maybe God said this and this, Allah says this and this. So then you have also a reference point, and in case of certain difficult questions that children may bring up, then you also can give that as a way of responding to them. Maybe it is God who did this and this, so it is the way it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So religion is also very important in the upbringing of children and helping them really define their life and be successful in life.
Okay, I think in conclusion, we must tell our parents out there that being a parent is a gift, and children are also gifts in our life, and that we should be happy about the roles that we are taking on as parents, and that we should make our parenthood very interesting. How do we make it interesting? By following some of those tips that we have given. We have very many tips, but we cannot expound on everything. So those are the very useful tips that we found worth sharing with parents out there, and we want to urge you to always tune into our programs. We always have new topics to speak about, and these topics will help you improve your life and become a successful person. So for today, I think we shall be saying bye.